Hey guys, and welcome back. So now we're going to move on with the project and start putting the engine in the frame. But first, like I mentioned earlier in that one video, I'm going to try to put a 0708 4C8 slipper clutch into the 5YY engine. I think it's possible. I haven't seen anyone really do it. There's some suggestions that it's possible. But looking at it, it seems like it is. The only big problem was I wanted to make sure the 4C8 clutch cover fit because it's quite a bit bigger than the stock one. And also the other problem is that I'll have to take off one of the fairings to always change the oil or fill the oil, because this is under here, whereas on the other one it's back here. So anyway, let's go ahead and start by taking this stuff back off, and then we'll get the engine flipped over and get the bottom of the case taken off. Okay, so here we have the 4C8 slipper clutch, and you can see the problem here is that even though this is all put together correctly, the nut right here in the center, it doesn't go all the way down on the shaft. Like, there's not enough threads on the shaft. The 4C8 shaft is physically longer than the, it's a lot longer than the 0405 shaft, and it's just a little bit longer than the 06. The 06 one is a little bit different than the rest. So we'll go ahead and take this off and continue on. Okay, now that we got all that stuff taken off, I can explain more what I'm doing here. So basically I'm having to split the cases on this engine. This is not the same engine that you saw in the other videos. It's very similar to that one. It's a 06 engine. But it's basically all the same kind of stuff down here. So I'm gonna have to take out the oil pump and then take out all the case bolts to split the case here. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so now we've got the case split, so I can go ahead and start taking out the transmission. So I'll go ahead and take out the output shaft here first and just set it aside in the other case half here, so that's convenient. Up next, we'll pull out these pins right here. They come out from the side and you kind of see it sliding out right there. Just like that, and there it is, and those come out. So keep in mind which way those go. The R goes to the left. Same thing, and the L goes to the left with the stamps onto the right. So we'll pull out that one right down there. Sometimes they can be a little tricky to get started. And I'll hold that up out of the way as I start to pull this, the shift drum out. And then you can take this out as well. Just like that. Lastly, we'll use the two of the screws itself to pull the counter shaft out. So there's some threaded holes right there. Hopefully you can see those. Right there and right there on either side. You can see how it just started pulling that out. Just like that. Now it's out. There we are. So the transmission's out now. So now we can start getting ready to put the new one in. Okay guys, so here's the 3 input shafts. This is an 04-05 one. This is an 06 input shaft, and this is the 07-08 input shaft. So some of the differences, the first thing we'll notice is this one's the shortest, the 04-05. The 06 one, like I said, is just a bit longer. And then the 07-08 one here is quite a bit longer than the rest. Hopefully you can see that there. Just a bit longer. Some of the other differences, this one's not hollow, whereas the 04-05 is. This one's the same. All 3 are the same length on this side, and they have the same bearing set on them. They're identical. The only other difference I've noticed is on the oiling holes. So they're all the same down here, but these have 2 holes close together and these have 2 holes far apart. I don't know if it'll matter if there's any difference there, but I don't think there is. Doesn't seem like it, but we'll take a look at the gears real quick. Okay, so we have both the input shafts here. I went through everything and really looked at the gears because luckily I have both complete transmissions for the 4C8 07-08 bike and the 06. So the big difference is, there's a couple interesting differences actually. The first is on this gear. On the 06-07 there's 5 dogs there, and on the 07-08 there's 4. Same thing kind of here on this one. There's 3 on this one, on the 06-07, and there's 5 on this one. So they've kind of changed it up. Then the biggest difference is on the center section here. It's all exactly the same teeth and that kind of thing, but they're significantly differently designed on the inside. You can see here on the older one, the splines pretty much go all the way through with the narrow oil in the middle. So that explains why those 2 are together right there on that shaft, those 2 little holes. The newer one, it has a lot bigger section in the middle, big hollow section there. So I guess Yamaha decided they didn't need all that, or they were just lightening it up. So you have to use those 3 gears together or these 3 gears together. One of the other small differences is on the 04-06, there's a little nick or like notch in the gear right there, probably help shifting, and the newer one doesn't have it. We can assume Yamaha changed this to this style for some reason because it worked better. So since I have this whole transmission and the gear and the spacings and all that kind of stuff are exactly the same, we're going to use those gears. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting those together now. Okay, so I'm going to start putting this input shaft here together. I think you could use this one on this gear, no problem. Or this gear on this shaft, no problem. It might block some of the oil though, since it had to run down that spline. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and use these. The first gear to go on is going to be this one right here. It's the end gear. I've already kind of lubricated these up with some of the assembly lube, so that's just going to slide straight on just like that. Next, there's going to be one of these retainer rings like that, the little tooth ring. And that's going to go straight on, straight down to the bottom. And then there's going to be the retaining pin, which I'm going to use some pliers here to get that down there, hopefully. It's always a bit tricky. I would highly recommend good pliers, unlike these. So that's on now. Make sure that ring is in there. Usually you can turn it a bit if it is. There we go. Up next is going to be the center section here, the sliding gear. So that's going to go on with the smaller side down, corresponding to the 4 dogs on that. Then again, we're going to do the same thing, but this time it's going to be the clip goes on first. So you kind of remember that because it's the clip faces the sliding part. There we go. Again, check and see if it turns. It does. Then that piece goes in right there. Okay, so next we're going to have this gear. Same thing with the 5 going down to this. Just like that. All right, up next is going to be this retainer here that goes between the last one. So you slide this big... So the last one's going to be is this one right here. So you just slide that straight down on it. Then this piece is going to lock it. So one is thicker than the rest, that one right there, and it corresponds to the one with the little notch in it right there. So that's going to go right down just like that. Then that's all locked together and you can't come up with it. Lastly is going to be first gear right here on the end. As far as I can tell, this one's exactly the same both ways. And that's going to go just right there on top, just like that. So now the input shaft is put back together and we can reinstall it in the bike.